of the year of 2022, Green Dot Daily, Action Network's daily sports betting show. Brendan Glasheen with you. Be sure to join us every weekday. We are here at noon Eastern for Green Dot Daily. However you found us, we are live in the Action Network app. We're also over on the Action Network YouTube page. We are on Twitter today. This is our final Twitter episode. So if you're a Twitter viewer, we apologize, but be sure to join us over on YouTube. We're trying to get folks to come over to our YouTube page. So YouTube and also in the app starting in 2023, but we are here on Twitter to close out the year, which I find a little ironic because remember when Twitter was supposed to end like a month ago and now we're going to end the Twitter thing. But that's just, that's not my call, but just letting you all know, we'll be live on YouTube and in the Action Network app. Green Dot Daily is presented by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. A couple of picks in the world of basketball coming up later on. Sean Little has a play in the NBA, a couple of good games here tonight. And in college basketball, Tanner McGrath will be joining us. Tanner's got thoughts on the slate. Tanner's a big fan of America East basketball, but I promise it's not a Vermont Catamounts pick from Tanner. It is a high-level college basketball game, which Vermont's pretty good, but high-level college hoops that you can watch on television. Tanner has thoughts. We start the show, though, how we normally do on Fridays. Stuckey stops by because it is college football bowl season. Some good ones here today, Stuck. We've got a game starting in moments now. Maryland and NC State, a noon kickoff, and then Pittsburgh, UCLA. You're eyeing a game later on this afternoon, and it's a total. What do you got for us?
Yeah, what's going on, Brendan? Happy New Year. Just looking at news for who's in, what quarterback's in for Maryland NC State games about to start. It's always an adventure in bowl season. But yeah, if this pick doesn't hit, I won't give you another pick until next year. I got to get all those awful jokes out of my system. But yeah, Ohio, Wyoming, Barstool Bowl. I generally have a rule of thumb where I don't like to go under low totals in bowl games. It's just, it's a bowl. It's basically an exhibition. It's a meaningless game. You have teams that will play looser. You'll have trick plays. Teams go for it more on fourth downs. So I generally like to avoid small total unders, but I'm going to make an exception here. I played the under here. I just don't see, number one, let's go to Wyoming side of the ball. Wyoming's missing their top 4 running backs. This is one of the worst passing offenses in the country. Yeah. And they have one decent receiver who is not playing. So I don't know how they're going to move the ball in this Ohio defense that really improved as the season progressed, made some schematic changes, and they're decent against the run. I assume Wyoming's going to be conservative as they always are and try to run with I don't know who. And then on the other side of the ball, Ohio had one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Curtis Rourke. He's out for the season. The backup, it's just not the same offense. And Wyoming's defense has a couple opt-outs, but it's not as bad as the offense. And this Ohio offense just can't really move the ball and can't hum with their backup the same way it could with Rourke, understandably so. So I think this turns into a rock fight. Craig Bohl, the coach for Wyoming, who's been really good against the spread in bowl games, very conservative coach. So like 50-yard line, 4th and 1, even in a bowl, he's going to punt. So I think there's a lot of things working in the favor of this under. Maybe it gets crazy like a bowl, but I'm willing to take a shot here with the state of both offenses.
Do you get the sense that you have any bias kicking in when you see Ohio so often during Maction? Does your Maction bias kick in at all in this handicapping?
No, I mean, I would lean Ohio here, but there's still uncertainty about what the backup quarterback for Ohio is going to look like. We have a very small sample size. Maybe he got a lot better. You got a month to prepare for this game. Mm-hmm. But Ohio, I love Ohio. I had a future on them 25-1. I think it would have cashed if Rourke didn't get hurt. Was able to hedge for some nice profit. So I love Ohio. Would lean that way if you had a bet aside here, but I'm passing, just going with the under.
Action app says sharp money tracked on the Wyoming side at +2.5, which reminds me, nice job the other day on Kansas. That's exactly how you had it playing out the other day, right?
Oh, yeah, never in doubt. But by the way, I did say take the 2.5 instead of the money line in case it ends on 2-point conversion. But that is not certainly how I envisioned. And I'm so mad for anyone who got 1.5. What is Arkansas doing? You're not going for 2 at the end of the first overtime? No one got to stop the entire game. You want to keep playing a bowl game? The Liberty Bowl? You want to go multiple overtimes? Go for 2. I was really rooting for Kansas to win after that happened.
Yeah, Arkansas did kind of what you didn't expect, which was like kind of care, and then in weird different spots, like didn't care enough or just thought they could just slap it out there and make it work. So
mess.
Okay, well, that works, and we'll see how it goes today with the Wyoming, Ohio under 42 points. That's moving in your favor. It's down to 41.5. So, folks, if you're in, get on it. Be sure to check out BBOC Saturday morning. Stuckey will be with Colin Wilson and Brett McMurphy, our Action Network college football insider. We'll have Saturday morning best bets at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Stuckey stays. Raybon now comes in, Chris Raybon. He's been excellent this year handicapping the National Football League. He joins us on the Friday show. These guys put together their Sunday six-pack. Highly encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to the Action Network podcast and listen to these guys. They come out with 2 episodes a week, including the Sunday six-pack. So, Raybon, get us started. What's your first pick that you want to share with us?
Let's go with the New Orleans Saints plus 6.5 at the Philadelphia Eagles. This spot, to me, for Philly with a backup quarterback, Philly with no Lane Johnson, one of the top tackles in the game. I just think it's too many points. We've seen this over and over this year with, in these lower total games where you're not expecting a ton of points and the total's around 44, 45. The underdog is going to cover, especially when they're more than a field goal, covering at 62% this year. And this New Orleans defense, I think, keeps them in the game, allowing just 15.6 points per game over their last 8 games. So, Philly, it's that end of the year. They have to be a little careful here with some of their guys, in terms of injuries. So I think New Orleans, even though they don't have as much to play for, it's like a 1% chance of them still winning the division. This is what we see at this time of year. The teams that pretty much have nothing to play for or less to play for end up covering against the teams that have a lot more to play for. And that's because, again, you see these inflated lines this time of year. So give me the Saints plus 6.5.
And the Saints are getting healthier on the defense. I thought that game against Cleveland, while it was freezing cold and the total was a record low or a total we haven't seen in 10 years, they finally said, okay, we're going to give the ball to Alvin Kamara 20 times. So that, I think, bodes in your favor as well. If they can control the clock, run the football, lower scoring game, seems like a lot of points for a game script that fits that total, to your point. Stuckey, your first NFL pick for week 17.
Yeah, by the way, Saints, you want to root for complete chaos in the NFC. The Saints are still mathematically alive for a wild card spot. So you can get 2 teams in the NFC from the NFC South, which would be absolutely hilarious this year in the NFC. So that's what I'm rooting for. But I'm going to go with the Colts plus 6 at the New York Football Giants. This line is super inflated. You see this a lot late in the year over, the final 2 weeks of the season when you have a team that needs to win. Or has to win to clinch a playoff spot or to keep their playoff hopes alive against, a team that's already eliminated, people think is dead. But what happens is, still professional athletes, still playing for their job, for pride, for incentives, for contracts. And a lot of times these dead teams at the end of the year, this is like their playoff game. You can play spoiler and usually get an inflated line. And by the way, I have no problem fading the Giants, making them win by 7 or more in a game. It's a team that has 8 wins. All 8 have come by 1 possession this year, a lot in comeback fashion. Colts still also have a top 10 defense. But if you look, that's both of these teams, by the way, went to Minnesota over the past 2 weeks. The Giants closed as 4.5-point underdogs. The Colts closed as 3.5-point underdogs. Yeah, there's a lot of other factors. That implies the Colts are about a 1 point better than the Giants. They both lost by a field goal in Minnesota. Now, Jonathan Taylor injury. You have Nick Foles in there now. But, Nick Foles was bad last week. I assume he'll be a little bit better. That was his first action of the year. But I don't think there's a huge difference between Nick Foles and the ghost of Matt Ryan. So this line is super inflated here. Low total again. Gladly take the points here. If you go back to since 1990, you have a sample size of about 155 games. Teams that are eliminated playing teams that are still playing for playoff contention that aren't locked in yet are 62.5% against the spread. Inflated number here. Give me the Colts, who, by the way, have lost 3 other times by double digits this year, which they did earlier last week. All 3 times they covered as an underdog the week after. They beat the Chiefs. They won at the Raiders, and then they should have won at the Vikings, but they blew a 33-0 lead, but still covered. I think they cover again here. Wouldn't be shocked if they won outright.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that analysis makes a lot of sense, but the trends would tell you to back the Giants how they've played this year against the spread, 11-4 against the number, but keep those unders in mind. The Colts have been great to the under this year, 10-5, and the Giants, when they are at home, the under is very favorable, 17-3, the under in New York the last 20 games. So that's good.
Yeah,
that's
but I also keep in mind, though, that the Giants, they've been great against the number, but this is a team that's generally an underdog, and they're a great underdog to bet. Daniel Jones has always been feisty as an underdog. Great coaching staff, which I think helps as a dog. This is a different role now. Now they're 6-point favorites. You're asking them to win by 7 or more, which is probably going to lead into Raybon's, I think maybe Raybon's next bet, which is in a similar situation, but I digress.
Fair enough. No, good point. Good point. In many spots where they have covered, they are an underdog as opposed to being near a touchdown favorite. Okay, Raybon, what do you got? Second best bet of your Sunday six-pack.
Yeah, and let me just mention about Stuckey's Colts pick. I mean, talk about trends. Check the Giants and Daniel Jones numbers covering the spread at home versus the road. All their covers come on the road too. So I wouldn't be too scared outside of just it being Nick Foles. But I like the Chicago Bears for my next pick, +6 on the road, going against the Detroit Lions. Very similar situation to this Colts team, except the Bears have actually been pretty feisty all year. Big loss to Buffalo last week, but they were in that game into the second half. I think their secondary is playing better with Gordon coming up with 2 picks, grading out as a top 25 corner over the past 2 weeks. Jalen Jones allowing only 59 yards on 10 targets with a couple of pass breakups over the last 2 weeks. And Justin Fields has been great against the blitz all year long. That's what Detroit loves to do. And, in this first matchup, Chicago outgained Detroit and ended up losing by 1 because of a pick 6 that changed that whole game. But, Detroit won that turnover battle. Detroit had 2 penalties. Chicago had 9. It was still a 1-point game in which Chicago had a 24-10 lead at the end of 3. This Detroit defense last week, I thought Detroit's defense was kind of coming around, but they reverted to the mean in a big way, 320-plus yards on the ground to Carolina. And then they allowed 250 yards through the air and over 10 yards in attempt as well. So I just think this is too many points here. And Chicago, underdogs coming off a big loss, 20 or more points, 108-70-3 against the spread, 61% over the last 5 years and change. So give me the Chicago Bears on the road against Detroit.
And we had Evan Abrams on who covers our research. He's our research director here at Action Network, and he's big on the NFL, and strongly encourage you folks to take a look at what he's got up on the website, also in the app, breaking down teams that are eliminated, which in this case is the Bears, and teams that are in must-win mode, which that is the case for the Lions to squeeze into the playoffs. You'd think it'd be the other way around, but it's the teams that are eliminated that actually put up a better fight and that are better against numbers, spreads, etc. Stuckey, you just got a 4th down stop there by NC State, so that's good news. Just wanted to share that with you.
2 quarterbacks who weren't expected to play are starting in this bowl. You got to love bowl season on what a beautiful football weekend.
You called it an adventure. I call it sort of abuse in a way. Like you're up for it. You embrace it.
Embrace it. Yeah, just embrace the bowl craziness. Sometimes these things are going to go your way. Sometimes they won't.
Give us your second pick for the NFL this weekend.
Yeah, and by the way, with Raybon, just to talk about some of because it's a similar situation to the Colts. Some of the overreactions to lines. The Bears were 3-point favorites over the Lions last month, and again they lost by 1 because of that pick 6, averaged 7 yards per play, and now you're all the way up to the Lions laying 6, got to win by a touchdown after they got dominated by Carolina last week, allowed 8.8 yards per play. Unfortunately, Mr. Rovell is not here to eat crow, but I'm gonna go with the New York Football Jets out on the West Coast. Mike White is playing. That's all I needed to know. It's not Zach Wilson. And there is an enormous upgrade between Zach Wilson, pretty much anyone, but especially Mike White, who can run this offense. He can complete the short passes, which is what you need to do. He's not going to have your horrific turnovers. And that's really the missing piece for this Jets team. A lot of talent at receiver. The running game's been struggling, but they should be able to get that going against Seattle's defense. And the best unit on the field will be the Jets defense here. So I think you're getting a discount with the Jets because the market, for whatever reason, doesn't price in this upgrade from Zach Wilson to Mike White. The last 2 weeks, the Jets have taken money, like late money, and have moved the lines moved 2 to 3 points with Zach Wilson started. I don't get it. Give me the Jets here on the road. Playoff lives still alive, and they're rallying around Mike White. And I think they show up here, get it done on the backs of that defense.
So what I'm sensing also in these picks is a reminder to folks that watch the NFL this time of year and don't go into it looking at this team don't care anymore, or this team needs this game more than the other. At the end of the day, it does feel like the way these numbers are cooked up, the Colts number, the Bears number, you shouldn't try to allow yourself to think that, oh, wow, like that makes sense why the lines. You guys are saying that the line is almost being too respectful to the teams that need to win.
Yeah, it's cooked in. It's inflated already. So whatever motivation might exist to where there is an edge for a team that needs to win, that's already being priced into the line and more. So if there is an edge at all, which we don't really know, but that's essentially what we're saying.
The other team, the team wants to win. They have motivation. The other team also wants to win, and the team, these are still pro athletes. They want to play spoiler, and I think a lot of times what happens is the team that needs to win plays tight, and they get tight, and then the other team will come in and they're loose, and so I think it can work in their favor. And next week on the Action Network app and actionnetwork.com, I'll have an article detailing all of the famous examples of in the final week of the NFL regular season. You could just go back to last year with the Colts, like just needing to win in Jacksonville, and they just get absolutely dominated. And it happens every single year. It'll happen again this week and next.
Yep. I tend to, I get it. And I think it's worth just kind of bringing that point home. I mean, look at the Titans trying to end a losing streak last week against the Texans. One that jumps out to me also, Seattle. They needed a win to kind of keep their hopes alive. They're still mathematically in, but they don't cover against Kansas City. So plenty of examples, but just that's good to keep in mind, everybody. Like it's hard to avoid narratives this time of year. No question about it. Before I let you both go, Stuckey alluded to this a moment ago. And again, be sure to listen to both Stuckey and Raybon, Action Network podcast, where they have the Sunday six-pack. Thoughts on Darren Rovell not showing up to today's show? He bailed last minute, and he's lost his last 3 picks, and he did not want to deal with Fade Rovell. Stuckey, your thoughts?
I'm sad. I wanted to give another free winner. He has been not only is he giving losers, like they're no sweat losers. Like last week, the Panthers, what did the Panthers put up? 40?
37, yeah.
37, yeah.
8.8 yards per play. 8.8 yards per play in an NFL game. That's like, you see that if like Georgia, Alabama plays like the Citadel, average 9 yards per play. So I wanted a no sweat winner. And I'm sad that he's not here to give it to the people to end the new year for a happy new year. And he's just being a Grinch.
Yeah, maybe I need to start losing some bets so I can get a free vacation last minute too.
Well, I found before the show started, I found it very curious that Rovell has 2 bets on this Maryland NC State game. He's got Maryland team total over 21.5, and he likes the full game over at over 43.5.
Yeah, you got to start a seltzer company on the side, Raybon, and then you get some.
I got you. It's coming. Look out for that. 2023.
Well, I'll say this. You guys are professionals. Thanks for stopping by right before the new year. Stuckey, Raybon, you can find them individually in the Action app. All of our picks from the show on this show are tracked in the app. Again, find them on the Action Network podcast. They've been killing it this year. Gents, thank you very much. Have a great New Year's Eve, great New Year, and we'll talk to you in 2023 next week.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Here's what we got going on tonight in the NBA. The Hawks are laying 7 against the Lakers. Look at that total. My goodness, 239.5 points. The total set for Lakers Hawks. Milwaukee trying to get back on track. They have a 4-game losing streak. They're laying 6.5 against the Timberwolves. What stands out to Sean Little? He's got a pick for tonight.
Appreciate it, Brendan. Happy New Year to all the Action folks out there. All right, let's head to Atlanta for Lakers Hawks. I'm going DeJounte Murray over 1.5 steals minus 125. This will be an extremely fast-paced game. Total opened at 233, now sits at 239.5, has moved almost 6.5 full points, depending on where you're looking at. Murray's averaging 2 steals at home this year in 17 games played, has been extremely active on the ball, has 7 games this year with 3+ steals and 2 games with 5 steals. Let's talk about the Lakers. They will push the pace. Currently third in the NBA at 102.47 possessions per game, and they'll push the pace, but they'll also turn it over, giving up 16.2 turnovers a game on the road this year. That's 28th worst in the NBA. This will be, for both teams, the third game in 4 days. I expect plenty of turnovers from a visiting Lakers squad. 4th straight road game. They're going to be tired. I expect Murray to pick up at least 2 steals in this matchup with the Lakers being tired and turning it over the way they do.
Okay, on to college hoops. There is a ranked opponent in action at noon as our show continues. Green Dot Daily, North Carolina and Pittsburgh. But here are some other games that jump out to us. Miami, Notre Dame in the ACC. Miami laying 2.5. Road favorite in South Bend. You've got the UCLA Bruins, another road favorite in conference play. Oh, those spots make me personally nervous. A road favorite in conference play. It's that time of year. Tanner McGrath, what do you have to say?
All right, my absolute favorite play on tonight's slate is Buffalo plus 16 at Michigan State. Look, watching Buffalo, it sure doesn't seem like Jim Whitesell lost his top 7 scorers and 2 All-MAC guys in the offseason. This team looks the exact same. They're incredibly lengthy, they're active defensively, and they love to run the floor. They take their 9 steals per game and turn it into 19 transition points per game. 2 things they do at a super high efficiency level, by the way. Buffalo just attacks you, and they drive downhill on you until they can't anymore, and it's worked. Non-con wins over George Mason, St. Bonaventure, and Colgate are combined with covers against West Virginia and Drake. And going over to the Michigan State side, the early season Spartan shine is kind of worn off for me. The issue with Sparty is that their whole offense is based on this ball screen, dribble, drive, penetration behind their 2 all-world guards, Tyson Walker and AJ Hoggard. But they're not scoring efficiently on the interior. Their 2-point shooting is way down. Their post-up efficiency is way down. Sparty is in the 75th percentile in 2-point attempts per game and the 15th percentile in 2-point shooting. And you know what Sparty is also bad at? Transition defense. They're in the 30th percentile in transition points per game allowed, which is a death sentence against Buffalo. Meanwhile, Buffalo's weakness is actually interior defense, but Sparty's inefficiency in that area and Buffalo's length basically neutralizes that. Plus, it's just not a spot you want to really back Sparty. They're 2-6 against the spread as a favorite this season. Meanwhile, Buffalo is 6-2 against the spread as an underdog this year. I'd make this line 13, and I love Buffalo's matchup. For the second pick, I'm going to go USC -1 at Washington. Look, Washington's early season play has been impressive, but I think it's mostly been based on their defense, which in turn I think has been a complete luck box. Mike Hopkins runs this zone scheme, which, I mean, as expected, allows a lot of 3-point shots. Washington is 240th in 3-point rate allowed. But opponents are hitting those shots at just a 27% clip, just a wildly unsustainable number. I think Washington's success is because their non-conference opponents struggle adjusting to this particular zone, and I don't think that's going to be a problem for USC. The Trojans were an above-average offense staring down zone last season. They've been an above-average offense staring down zone this season. And in 2 matchups last year, USC won both by compiling a combined 75 points against the Hopkins zone at just over 0.9 points per possession. USC is also trending way up. They had a disappointing start to the season, but they put together a great interior defense combined with a suitable offense behind Boogie Ellis and Drew Peterson. They just took down Auburn at home, which was a very convincing win to me. Meanwhile, Washington just hosted Auburn and lost by 17. I'll shoot my shot with USC, who, by the way, are 4-0 against the spread on the road this season.
Wow. Tanner McGrath shooting his shot, the final pick on Green Dot Daily in 2022. Shooting his shot. That a boy. Thanks, Tanner. Thanks to Sean Little as well. All the picks from the show today for the upcoming weekend of the National Football League, all of those picks will be in 2023. The results of them will be in 2023, but you can find the picks over in the Action Network app at Green Dot Daily. Stuckey, Raybon, Little, and McGrath on top of it today. Speaking of the Action Network app, how about this? An action sweep from the pro signals. Pittsburgh, UCLA, they are meeting in the Sun Bowl, which starts at 2 Eastern. Look at all the blue on that top row. Wowee. Pittsburgh +8. Right now looking like the play. That line opened at just 3.5, but there you go. That's the kind of edge you can get with the Action Network app if you subscribe to a pro account. It's a great gift this time of year, too. Great time of year to get involved. And if you already are, we certainly appreciate it. Green Dot Daily, everybody, is presented by BetMGM. You can use the bonus code ACTION when signing up to get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Well, we certainly thank all of you for coming on and making Green Dot Daily part of your daily routine. If not, if you're new, thanks for stopping by. We'll be here at noon Eastern. We're here every weekday. We're live on the Action Network app. We're also live on the Action Network YouTube page. We're not going to be doing Twitter starting next week. We want to get folks over on the YouTube page. So join us, Action Network YouTube, and also live in the Action Network app. Thanks to all of our crew behind the scenes, our guests that join us. They put in so much time to get you caught up to speed and educated. Brendan Glasheen signing off. You all have a happy new year, and we'll see you for Green Dot Daily in 2023.